Welcome to another episode of Kahoot 101. This is a Discover Kahoot Basics webinar series that happens on the fourth Wednesday of every single month. There may be exceptions, like Christmas. No one wants to be listening to me on Christmas. So we do announce those changes on the registration page. You can sign up for these sessions as many times as you want. You can also keep the link saved so that when you have new team members who join in, they can attend the webinar and ask all the questions that they want. The goal today is we're going to experience a live training through a live Kahoot, and this is what we're doing. So now we know how to log in and how to set up the Kahoot, and we're also going to learn how to navigate through the platform, so the back end of it, how to create a Kahoot, how to host live and self-paced sessions, and hopefully we'll have fun while learning all of that. My name is Zainab. I'm the manager for the customer success team that manages all of our Americas accounts. That includes North, South, and Central. All of our wonderful customers that use our Kahoot at Work and Kahoot at Brands products. And I'm joined today by our very, very efficient, intelligent, and super fingers on fire kind of moderator, Andy Galich. Andy is a senior customer success specialist. If you have a Kahoot account, you may already have spoken with at least one of us so far. We're going to be presenting and moderating, so tag teaming today. If you have any questions, please put them in chat. She'll also be sharing some updates and information pieces in there. And chat's going to be our main space for questions today. For anyone who hasn't used Kahoot before or is not entirely certain of what Kahoot is an edtech tool that's used for a variety of different reasons. So you can use it as a quizzing platform, which is how it was introduced to the world. You can ask questions or hold assessments with your learners or participants within a work environment. But you can also use it for delivering training, which is what I'm going to be doing today. You can use it for hosting meetings and brainstorming sessions with your teams. And across the globe, we have over 600,000 paid business subscribers. So Kahoot was launched in the school space. And if you have kids or you've recently graduated from college, you would have used Kahoot in school or college. And that's where it was primarily popular. But over the last half a decade, it's become very, very popular over the employer side in the corporate world. So 97% of the Fortune 500 already uses Kahoot for their employee engagement. And we've had over 40 million non-unique participants in just the last 12 months. So I'm going to kick us off with a poll type question. Do you currently have a Kahoot subscription? Okay, let's take a look. I like that there are two different ways of looking at this data immediately. So you see the actual number of people in each segment. So 4 people with free accounts, 3 people who don't have a Kahoot subscription yet, and 5 who have a paid subscription. So 42% of our audience already has a paid subscription to Kahoot. This is a great place to learn how to get the best value out of it. And then we have the other half, the other 48%, 58% that doesn't yet have a paid subscription. The reason why I asked this question in the beginning is because you may see features that you don't currently have access to in your Kahoot account in this demo today, because I'm on the top tier paid subscription. If you're familiar with Kahoot or you've used it before, you've probably seen the standard blue, red, green, and yellow buttons here on the answer options and the graphics in the middle. And that's the standard Kahoot colors, our basic branding that is adorable, but also companies like to customize and have their own brand colors in there. So Kahoot at Work is all blue. I had it changed to blue here. So if you see any features that you would enjoy using, but you don't have access to in your own subscription, you can go ahead and contact our BD team. Andy's going to go ahead and put in a link for us to speak with Sam or Gally. They're wonderful. They know a lot about Kahoot, and they can make sure that you find the right fit for your subscription. So where are we joining in from? Where are you in the world? I imagine with this timing, a lot of Europe, maybe in the US. So you can just drag this image around, and as you move it, the pin stays in the center. I don't know why the pin doesn't move, but it doesn't. It stays in the center, and then you move the image to make sure that it lands in the right spot. Let's take a look. Okay, so we have someone joining in from France. I really appreciate you joining in at this hour. I know it's almost the end of your workday, and then most of us are here in the US. My pin would have been somewhere around here. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. So is Lisa from my team, who is attending today, and you will probably see her soon hosting one of these sessions. And Andy is based out of Guatemala. So we have quite a global presence. Very nice to see. All of this gets stored in your report. So while this one's a really good icebreaker question, it is still something that gets stored in the report's data. All the engagement, all the interaction gets stored in the report. So you can go back to it, take a look at it afterwards. This is one of our scale type questions. The labels and the number of points that you have on this are customizable, and I love using it as a benchmark. So in the beginning, before we have a conversation on how to use Kahoot, you see that you'll see a certain score in terms of confidence from people. And then our hope would be that after we go through the training, the knowledge level and hence the confidence goes up. So the average score is 5.1. We have someone who says they're not confident at all, and then a lot of people on the left side of the midpoint. And then a few people who are at an 8 or a 9, which is awesome. I really hope I can show you something new and you still get to have more value out of this session today. But we're at an average of 5.1. So I'm hoping that at the end of this session, we would have moved towards the right side of the screen and we'd be at least one grade point higher. As I said, Andy's moderating and she's going to answer all of your questions. So throw the questions in here. Of course, you can ask more questions as we go, but what was on your mind when you joined today? Did you have something specific that you wanted to learn? And you were like, let me attend this webinar. Let's see if I can get answers to these questions. This here is an open-ended question type. So this gives you a lot more freedom to give in your response. It has 250 characters. Similar to this, we also have a word cloud where if the response was expected to be just one word, you would do a word cloud and it'll give you 20 characters to give yours. Like I mentioned before, all the responses get saved in reports. So this is a great way to get input from your audience. Another really good tip here is the reports are updated in real time. So if you have people put in their responses and move on to the rest of the Kahoot, you can have the report open up on a separate screen because most of us have two screens now. You can have the report open up on the separate screen and you'll see all of their responses and you can continue going through your training or your session. The Kahoot can continue to roll along and you can continue answering questions because they're all saved. So you don't even have to stay on the screen or take a screenshot. You open it up in that separate window. And as you can go ahead and answer all of those questions, you're saving a lot of time because even if you have 10 people on the call, you give everybody 30 seconds or 1 minute, you're 5 to 10 minutes into a 30, 40-minute meeting. That takes away from the time that you could have used in talking about other things. So for people logging in today, they're hoping to learn as much as they can or share best practices for businesses. They're here for learning what the best type of questions are for making a Kahoot training, all of them. Use a mix, use a combination of different question types. That's the best experience. No specific question. Someone's here to just see what Kahoot has to offer. Hopefully, we can put our best foot forward for you. Any user guides, and you can share a link to our help and knowledge base, help articles and knowledge base, which has also not just articles, but a ton of videos that serve as user guides. And then am I able to incorporate Q&A with a presentation? Yes. So you could use this question type to gather all the questions from people and then use that as a Q&A. I could go and answer one by one, or again, you can open it up in that separate window and continue to answer those questions as they come along in your own presentation flow. Within Kahoot, people can't ask questions as you go. So it's good to maybe if you're wanting to collect questions through Kahoot, it's probably good to have an open-ended question embedded after every 4 or 5 slides so that you continue to get their input. And someone said they want to learn how to create a poll. We will show you that today. So what are the basics? The basics are you can engage your audience with Kahoot and you can present to them. There are a ton of other presentation tools out there. You have PowerPoint, Google Slides, a lot of things. But the beauty of Kahoot is that it's not one way. You're not just presenting. It's not just a slideshow. It's not just a video that you're showing. You show something, then you get input from the audience. So it's always a two-way communication. You present data, and then you can either get their opinion on it or test their knowledge on it. So we have 13 different question types that can be used for engaging your audience. The top half, the first 6, are for testing knowledge, which means that there is a concept of right or wrong. You have to tell the system what the right answer is and whether they will earn points for answering correctly and how long they have to answer the question. The bottom 7, which one cut off because it didn't have space, um, they're for collecting opinions. There's no right or wrong. You just throw the question out there, and there are different ways of gathering input. You've already experienced a poll, a scale, a drop-in, and an open-ended with the Kahoot that you've gone through so far. Word cloud is, again, an open-ended input from your audience, but it's limited to 20 characters, and it has this really nice view with all of the words that people have submitted. They are visually presented, and any word that was said more than once is bigger on the screen compared to the others. Similar to scale, we also have NPS, but it has the full NPS methodology and the formula built into it. So if you wanted to gather Net Promoter Score for your product or service or general customer feedback, it will be able to gather all the input and then show you what percentage of passives you have, what percentage of detractors you have, or promoters you have. So this is a really fun way of gathering that information as well. So 13 different question types, both for testing knowledge and collecting opinions. The other part of it is presenting data. So you can either build a presentation right inside Kahoot. So this was built in Kahoot. I went in there, I added a new slide. There was a heading, a body, and an image option. And that's one layout. So I went in and I selected the layout that had this format. So it's big title. You can change over the formats, and we have a variety of PowerPoint style layouts where you can pick a different layout and enter data. We do have a limited character limit. So the way I make a recommendation on this is if you have very little data, little text, then go ahead and build the PowerPoint, the slides within Kahoot, because it saves you time. It's very easy. You just go in and add a few slides, and they are, an opening slide, a closing slide, just simple stuff like that. If you have a lot of information that needs to be shared, or if you already have a bunch of PowerPoint slides, then just go ahead and import them. So whenever you're inside your Kahoot creator, which I will show you what that looks like, you can go ahead and import your existing slides. And then once you've built your engagement, you have your data in there, you have your questions in there. At that point, how do you want to engage your audience in terms of the logistics of it? If you're able to host a live game, which is what we're doing right now, you go ahead and host live. Your audience is present in real time. They're all engaging with the information that you're sharing. So it's a real-time engagement. But that's not always possible because you're not always able to get everybody in the same meeting or host a giant session with people. There may be coordination issues, or maybe it's not urgent enough to host a giant meeting. For those situations, we have an assigned or self-paced version. The beauty of it is that you don't have to make 2 separate Kahoot files. You create a Kahoot, and similar to how with a PowerPoint, you can either do a slideshow and present it live, or you can download it as a PDF and attach it to an email and send it off, and people can read it at their own pace. Same way with a Kahoot game, you can either host it live, or you can go ahead and turn it into an assignment. So it gets sent out to your audience through an email or a QR code or a URL, whatever you prefer. And then you can give them a deadline or leave it open-ended. and they will go through it at their own pace. You can even turn off the timer. There's no rush. They can go ahead and read through the whole thing and answer questions. This is really good for anything that is survey style. So let's say you did an onboarding session, and 2 weeks later, you want to know, how are people doing? Did they actually understand the content that you presented? Did they retain it? Are they utilizing it in their day-to-day? You can send out an assigned Kahoot and get that input. You can also use it for pre-training and post-training evaluations. That's a common use for business. I know somebody asked for best practices for businesses, so it saves you time. So pre-training evaluations, post-training evaluations, benchmarking, and then also anything that you're currently sending out as an email, process updates, minor changes that are important to know, but not also something that you're going to host a live training about immediately. With emails, you don't know if people read it, and if they did, you don't know if they understood it. So you can immediately convert any of those pieces into Kahoot. Send it out through a Kahoot. You'll know who's gone through it because the reports show it. And because you're asking questions, if someone isn't able to answer questions correctly, then you know that they need a little bit more help. They didn't fully understand the concept. And that's an individual Kahoot. So one Kahoot that you can either host live or you can go ahead and assign it. If there was a multi-step learning journey, if you want to create a threaded learning experience, very similar to a pathway within your LMS system, you can turn all of those little pieces into a course. So a course can have documents, videos, audio, text. We have a web page article style tool called Stories. So that can have a lot of text and other components, and then it can have a Kahoot. So you can have all of these different pieces put together in a organized fashion, typically used for things like onboarding training because it's multi-step and you want to maybe cover 2 steps today and then go away and then have day 2 or day 3 or day 4 of training. But it's nice to have all of it threaded together in one space. So courses are a combination of multiple learning elements. One of my favorite things about what we've done recently with Kahoot is, like everyone else, but better, AI. So our new generative AI integration enables you to save hours and hours and hours of manual labor because you don't have to create your Kahoots yourself now. A lot of us already have our training materials. I have a bunch of material on Kahoot. I talk about Kahoot all day, every day. So I have those PowerPoint slides, and I don't want to have to create a brand new set of questions or slides or training just because I have this new tool now. I want to use this tool, but I don't want to spend hours duplicating effort. Um, you don't have to. So you would go into your Kahoot and you can add a question or add a slide and not make it yourself. Let Kahoot generate those questions or slides for you based off of our integration with Microsoft Azure OpenAI. All of the data that you put into Kahoot is stored in Kahoot. It's not sent out of your account. It is living inside of Kahoot. But also you're getting a lot of assistance in the AI generator creating the questions for you, making them super presentable with the image and all the right and wrong answer options. And you can do it in 2 ways. You can either give it a prompt, so whatever subject you want to do a Kahoot about. So I'm inside my Kahoot creator and I am adding a question. Within the adding a question, I have options to add manually. I can find it in my library if I want to reuse a question that I've previously added to another Kahoot, or I can go into generate and say, I'm going to give you a topic. The topic that I'm going to offer it is generative AI. And once you ask it generate some options, you'll see it's coming up with all of these different question types. It does quiz, true or false, slider, a combination of different question types. And the questions come with answers. To me, the hardest part is coming up with the wrong options. Like I know what the right answer is, but what are going to be all the wrong options? They have to seem reasonable. So you see the question's been generated. I went ahead and added one. I could add the others also if I wanted. So I can keep doing um I can keep clicking add next to all of the questions one by one. The other good thing about this, I'm going to just play that one more time so you can take a look at it again. The other good thing about this is it's session based, so I can just go back and always give it a different prompt and it'll generate a different set of questions. So let's imagine I went in there, gave it a different prompt, it's going to give me a bunch of different questions. I can look through them and add all the ones that I want again. And you can continue doing that. If you have 5 different topics in a Kahoot, just give it those 5 different topics and it'll generate questions for you. But realistically, we sometimes already have our PowerPoints ready, right? So we have our materials created. You don't have to create the questions for the training material that you've made. So instead of topic, you'll do document and you'll select upload. It'll take a maximum file size of 60 megabits and 150 pages. So like literally a whole book can go in there. So I uploaded this one document with 2 pages. It's about Kahoot 360. Now it's reading through my Kahoot 360 info sheet and asking me questions based off of the information on the sheet. So the sheet says Kahoot is a powerful upskilling tool. So the question is Kahoot a powerful upskilling tool? And then the options are true or false, and answer, of course, is true. I'm also able to add in slider type question. Like I said, it has a combination of different question types that you can add in. So based off of your training material, it'll give you questions. You don't have to think about questions. And it comes with the background image and all of the right and wrong answer options created. So that also is a huge help because you don't have to even format it. You can obviously change it because as you see, you're in the creator, you still have these options on the right side to change the question type, change the time limit, whether or not there are points. But it gets you a really good start. So the time to first draft has been dramatically cut down. I'm going to hop in and show you the good stuff in the backend. I'll just take 1 minute to go through the chat and see if there's anything that I need to answer. Nope, like always, it looks like Andy has everything handled. I'm going to leave this here. So this screen, I'm going to leave this here. And I love doing this because Kahoots are session-based. So once you started, you have to go all the way to the end to see the podium. So you want to finish your Kahoot. You don't want to leave it in the middle. If I close the window, we'll lose it. We're not going to be able to start it again. But if I leave the window right here, I can leave it there for like an hour. So it's very easy to navigate away from the Kahoot game. It'll stay there in the background and do something else, show your new hires or your employees something else on the computer or have a discussion elsewhere, and then come back to this. So I'm going to hop over to the other window where I have my Kahoot account logged in, and I'll do a quick walkthrough of what your Kahoot for Work or Kahoot Spirit Pro for teams, Kahoot individual accounts, anything that is meant for the business subscribers, what that platform looks like. I'm on a specific plan type. So there might be changes between mine and yours, but we're going to cover what the basic flow is. So whenever you log in, if you're on an individual plan, you'll just see your private workspace. This dropdown is not going to be a concept. But if you're on any one of the team plans, then you want to go to your team's workspace because that is the shared space where the paid subscription is, where the higher player limits and better question types and additional features are. So if you see a drop down here, always make sure to be in the team space. This has a library where all of the content is stored, and it has a your folder, which is accessible to just you and your admins. But then it also has a team folder, and that team folder is awesome because everyone in the account, except limited members, they all have access to this. And you can organize this by different subfolders. This could be based off of the kind of training or department or whatever makes sense for you guys. So I have this one folder for my deep dive webinars, one folder for the Kahoot 101. This is the one I'm hosting today. So all of this is organized in a way that makes sense to me, and it makes it easy for my team to navigate within the account. So you always want to be in the team workspace and save your materials in the team folder so others automatically have access to it. And that way you're not always wanting to share materials one by one, and there's a lot of manual labor in that. If you did want to share materials with someone, like you want to send something specifically, you are able to click on any one of these Kahoots and go ahead and share. But it's just easier when everyone has access to the team folder, and that's where you're putting your stuff. So I'll go back to the home page. This is where you land when you first log in. You have an activity feed, a little bit of social media style updates of what's happening around the world. Um, if you have things assigned to you as a learner, because of course we as employees are also learning, even though we're instructional designers, we also have to continue learning. So if there are materials that you've assigned just to your instructional design team or the managers who have access to Kahoot, they'll see it in their learning section. You can go to our Discover tab, which has content from our premium partners, as well as a lot of other creators that choose to make their materials public. It is a choice, though. So your materials are private by default. Within business accounts, you can't even make it public if you wanted to. You have to go through a process. So you'll apply for a verified profile. You have to be on a specific subscription type, etc. But after you go through that process, there are regular people out there like you and I who've made their Kahoots public, and people are able to use those. And then there are premium collections from our partners, which are a lot of fun brands. Like there's someone at Marvel whose job it is to make Kahoot games, and then they get displayed here. And all of this is available for you to use with your team. You can also search for different topics, and you'll find that a ton of material is completely free. There are some Kahoots that are listed under Access Pass, like really good quality stuff that's made by either Kahoot Studio or by our premium partners. And this is held behind an Access Pass subscription, which is super cheap. It's like $4 a month, but it gives you access to all of these pre-made activities. So if you're wanting to host team activities, managing culture within your team, or events like Thanksgiving is coming up, Halloween is coming up, and you want to do fun stuff with your team at that point, then you can just pick materials from here. Discover will have majority of free content. Some material will be paid for, and Access Pass is the pass that gets you access to those paid materials. The library is your own library of content. So your organization keeps everything here. And once you're done hosting Kahoots, reports are generated automatically. So this is the report for the Kahoot that we're playing. It's still running. It's open in the other window, but it's already in here. We have 17 players in the Kahoot. There are 19 slides and questions. For the questions that have been asked, I can see what the responses are. So for example, I'm not going to click on any of these because it will show me the name and email address of the player and the response that they've provided. So I don't want to put your email out there on our YouTube channel, but you're able to see player performance and question performance. So how did people do on a certain question? When we ask this, you'll be able to see if 40, 50, 60% of the audience got it right versus wrong. And then you'll know if it's a concept that is well understood in the audience, or they didn't really get it. The team score, the overall score for the respondents was like 30%. And it lets your trainers know that they either need to present that data differently, ask that question differently, or reinforce that training a little bit more. You can also organize your audience, your license holders into different groups so that they're able to collaborate with one another. And then we have the ability to, I'm going to scroll all the way up, create Kahoots. This create button just lives there on the top right corner, regardless of where you are in the app. So it makes it really easy to find it. I'm going to hit create. I can make a single Kahoot, or I can build a story, which, like I mentioned before, is a web page article type format where it's a great scrolling experience. You have text, then you can put in some images, videos, more text, and people can just scroll through it and learn with different elements. And then you can put multiple learning elements together within a course. For this basic webinar, we're going to cover just the Kahoot creator, but we also offer a more in-depth webinar series that happens on every second Wednesday of the month, where we talk about specific use cases. And that's where we discuss courses and stories and reports and groups in more detail and in context of specific use cases within an organization, like building team culture, or hosting effective onboarding, or hosting effective team huddles. There are a bunch of recordings available on our YouTube channel from the webinars that we've hosted in the past, but also it's an ongoing series. So if you go onto our website, you'll be able to find a work meetup that happens every month, second Wednesday of the month. So I started creating a Kahoot, and it's asking me how I want to get started. Blank canvas, one of the pre-existing templates, or do I want to generate the Kahoot based off of a topic or based off of a PDF. Let's say I'm going to do it based off of PDF. I'm going to upload the file here. And as I showed you on the video, it'll give me answer options, select question options, and I can put those in here. I can continue to add questions and go back to this generate option as many times as I want. The one thing I want to highlight about uploading a document is that you don't have to worry about data security when you upload a document. We're not storing it. No one's storing it. It is a session-based activity. So when it gets uploaded, the AI reads through it, does its little magic, and gives you the answer options, the questions. You choose which questions you want to add, and then you hop out of the window, and that's it. We forget. We forget about the document. If you want to go through that exercise again, like you want more questions to be generated, then you're going to have to come back in here and upload the document again, which is a super simple process. But we're not storing your documents. The other option that I didn't show you on the videos was you can also use a URL. So if you have a wiki page or your website, anything that has a bunch of data that you want to do questions off of. For example, I go in here and I search for ADDIE instructional design model, and I find this link that has these 5 steps to effective training, and it explains ADDIE and its different steps. I'm going to take this and bring it back here and hit continue. I love this part. It's reading through the website. And once it gets done reading through the website, it's going to give you question options. So what are these nice little, also slides, open discussion. How does the ADDIE model ensure continuous improvement in training programs? And then you can add the slide and then stay on it and talk through it. True or false? Was ADDIE developed in the 1980s? That is false. What does ADDIE stand for? All of these things listed. So it is analysis, design, etc. So all of those different elements. So it's reading through this website and web page, and it went ahead and created a Kahoot for you. And I'm going to add all of these because let's say I like these, and then I'm back in here. I have a Kahoot. That's it. I'm ready to go. I can save this. If I want to add questions again, I will once again go back in here and select generate, give it another document, give it a URL, and go through the practice again. So as I mentioned, it's session-based. We're not storing any of it. Same thing with slides. I can add a slide at any point. I can build it inside Kahoot or generate it through our OpenAI. So let's see. In which year was the ADDIE model created? 1975. Ta-da! So these are going to be, again, a combination of slides and questions, and you can pick what you want to add in there. Or you can import your slides. If you already have a presentation, just throw it in here. When you're generating a Kahoot off of a document, the document can be a maximum of 60 megabits. When you're uploading slides or a PDF, for making it a part of your Kahoot file, it can be a maximum of 80 megabits. So you upload your file and then you move things around in a flow that makes more sense. You can preview this to see, how does this flow? Is it making sense? Yeah, looks pretty good. Or no, maybe I need to make a few changes. How much time do I want people to have to answer each question? Do I want standard points, which are 1,000, or double points, which are 2,000, or no points at all? Just answer the question. And then with any quiz type questions, there's the multi-select option. So if there are multiple correct answers, then they will get points based off of the multi-selection. I can give it a theme. So what is the background when Kahoot is being played? For example, this is the theme that I'm using in the other Kahoot. So it has those nice little watercolors here. But I could make it different. It could be like brighter, warmer. So I can choose those little theme options. You can create themes that are available for your entire organization or for yourself. You also have a bunch of themes that we create, so you have access to those. Like Miami Beach comes with the Miami Vice music. It's pretty fun. And these are also seasonal. We go ahead and keep updating these as new things are happening in the world. When you're ready, you save your Kahoot with the title that is player facing, people will be able to see it, and an internal description, a cover image, where you want to save your Kahoot. Best practice is deep folders. And my favorite part, I hate making small talk. So I mentioned earlier when you all were joining into Kahoot that you can have characters turned on. So people are busy editing their characters and playing around with that. The other option is you can have a video play in the lobby while people are logging in. So they're not waiting there, getting bored. They are watching something productive or fun. And that's how you pass the time. So on the screen where you are scanning the QR code and you see everybody's names popping in before we start the game, you can play a YouTube video as long as you embed the link over here. You can choose which music you want to play. Is the Kahoot going to be visible just within the organization, or do you want to make it unlisted, which does not make it public, but it gives you the ability to grab a link from Kahoot and you can give that specific link to someone else and they will be able to access that Kahoot file through that link. They'll still need a license to host though. And you can allow duplication or don't copy my data. I made this Kahoot. This is mine. No one else gets to copy it. Once you're done, just go ahead and save. I'm going to exit without saving. And it gets stored in your draft. So you can come back and keep working on your draft files, or if you saved it, then it'll be wherever you put the file. Once you're saved and it's ready to be used, you can go ahead and host live for a live interaction like we have going on in the other window. And this will give you a bunch of options on how you want to host it. I was hosting that other Kahoot in a standard classic mode, the way that we know and love Kahoot. But over the last year, we've launched many different ways of interacting with Kahoot. You can also have a team mode. So the standard mode is where you log in as yourself and you're playing against other players. There's competition, you have a podium. With team mode, you're logging in with your own device, but you're divided into different teams. The host, you can choose the team that you want to be on, or the host can move names around to decide the teams. And then the teams play against each other's. So your score contributes towards the team score. And this is great for larger audiences because everyone stays engaged for a longer time because they're contributing towards their team's success or failure. And then there are all of these other game modes, which I cannot tell you how much I love them. They're timed. They are meant for different learning outcomes. For example, Color Kingdom, you take the same exact Kahoot. It's going to strip away all of the slides and keep just the questions. You decide how long you want to play it for. It'll make a recommendation based on the number of questions that are in there. And then it is essentially having you do a review activity because it will have you practice all the questions over and over. From a game having fun perspective, what you're doing is every time you answer questions correctly, you get a tile or a flag that you plant on the battlefield and you're expanding your empire. And of course, you want to take over the other empire, watch their castle crack and fall. And you're having fun doing that based off of two teams or two kingdoms. From a learning perspective, you're answering questions for the full 2 minutes or 3 minutes, 5 minutes that you play the game. The questions will repeat themselves. If you get the answer right, wonderful. You get to move ahead in the game. If you get the answer wrong, the system will tell you what the right answer was, and then it will repeat those questions more often until you start getting the answer right. So it's helping you with rapid recall, memorization, learning new information through practice, and it's great for review activities at the start of the training, at the end of the day, or the next day to refresh everyone's memories. So I've explained one of these, but there are 8 other fun game modes in here. So you can try these out. Right now, they're available to all of our customers. They're not gate kept behind any subscription type. So you should have access to all of these in your account. And that's the live version of Kahoot. If I'm not hosting a live training, as I mentioned before, there's a survey style model available. Same Kahoot file, exact same file. I go in and select assign. And I can choose a deadline from here or keep it open-ended. I can have the timer turned on or off. Don't want to grab emails, do want to grab emails. And then I create the assignment. The assignment is essentially an empty report. So you'll notice we automatically hopped over to the reports tab. It's empty right now. How do I get people to play it? I can copy this link or I can assign it through email. For example, here's my email. And I'm going to put that in here, add it, assign, edit the invitation email, send a preview to myself, send the invite. Once it's been sent, the all of the invitees are listed here. So you can then see if they've started the Kahoot, completed it or not, left it halfway, and I can also send reminders to specific people or to everybody. And I continue to have all the other options for grabbing the QR code or the URL to invite more people. I will then start seeing the report being populated as people are playing through the game. And I can also go ahead and download the report, view the podium once it ends. So I'm able to see all the insights from the survey style. With all of that said, I'm gonna go back to my Kahoot. Your device, if it's gone dark, like if the screen is dark like this, wake it up, make sure that it's connected because I have a question on the next slide for you. So I don't want you to lose time because the screen was dark. Go back to full screen, turn on some music. So, question type. This is puzzle type question, so it has all of the options, but they're jumbled up. You have to put them back in the right order. On your screen, you can select one of the tiles and drag them around to get them back to the right order. For example, the top one would be open the Kahoot create page, so you can start creating a Kahoot with generative AI. The first one's open the Kahoot create page, and what comes next? While you guys are answering this question, I noticed that Denise asked that Cornerstone on Demand is not listed as an LMS platform. We do work with Cornerstone on Demand. We work with pretty much all the LMS systems out there because we connect through an embed code. So you can use Kahoot as an embedded element inside the courses or any of the learning journey inside your LMS, or you can, if you have developers available, you can use the LTI integration that we offer. As Andy mentioned, go ahead and email us for more information on that, but we do work with pretty much all the LMS systems out there. Let's see, so 4 people got the answer right, 5 got it wrong. I don't blame you, puzzle type questions aren't easy, but they are a really good fit for process or chronological order, more important versus less important kind of questions. Because this was my first question that had points associated with it, you see a scoreboard, and Laura is at the top, closely followed by D and then JK. Why? If all of the 4 people on the screen got the answer right, then why are the points earned different? Put your best guess in chat and then Andy will let you know. Next up is a slider type question. How many question types does Kahoot offer? I really like this question type for the animation that it has. This little game show experience at the bottom, and even when it gives you the answer, it fakes you out a little bit and then moves around on the screen. One of the questions was, what question types are best for training? And I said, use all of them. This is a really good example of using all the different question types because they all have a different visual experience. And it's through several researches, it's been proved that if you interact with the same piece of information in different formats, you're more likely to remember it. So the correct answer was 13. One person got it right. So at least one person was paying attention. And then this is the end of the training. So after going through the last 52 minutes of conversation about Kahoot, do you feel like you're a little bit more confident in creating and hosting Kahoots now? Ooh, so nobody's at a 1 or a 3 anymore. We've moved to the right side of the screen and we went from a 5.1 to a 6.4, which isn't so bad. It's actually pretty good. Thank you so much. Right, one key takeaway from today's session. So something that stood out for you. Could have been a new idea, could have been a thought around, hey, I could have used Kahoot for that session that happened and it would have been more fun. Or any thoughts around, this is what I can use Kahoot for. And all of your guesses most in why the scoring was different are correct. Almost all. It is dependent on time, so your speed essentially. The score starts with 1,000 points and it decreases linearly as time passes. So the longer you take to answer, the lower the score will be that you get, even though the answer is right. There's only one right answer. It is another way of making it more interesting, more competitive, but also rewarding people who are paying attention and are able to answer quickly. So once you have your answer submitted, you can go ahead and show answers. Even when the timer ends, if you are already typing, as long as I'm on this screen, you can continue to put in your responses. So we're going from 4 responses to 5, and now we've gotten all of them. Someone said that Kahoot is fun was their key takeaway. Love that. How to motivate teens. 13 questions can be created. 13 question types can be created. Yes, there is more AI assistance than I realized. The generative AI is quick and seamless way to help create our employee engagement events. Awesome. Showed me fun settings to update within the games and learned a little bit about AI. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. This was awesome. You've invested a lot of time with us this morning. I hope it was effective and that you come back for some of our more deeper dives into the platform when we talk about specific use cases. Like I mentioned, the other series, Work Meetup, happens on the second Wednesday of every month. We also have two other major events called the Work Summit. The Work Summit happens once in spring and once in fall. So the next one's coming up on September 10th. And we have companies, businesses come in and talk about how they onboarded Kahoot, how it's going for them, and share numbers and insights into how effective it is and why it's been effective for them. So in the past, we've had Johnson and Johnson, Ford Motors, T-Tech, a lot of different customers that have shared their insights. It is a very, very knowledge heavy, insight heavy event. It's going to be on September 10th, and the registrations will be up. The registration page will be up on the website soon. So hopefully we'll see some of you there as well. Again, thank you so much for spending all of this time with us. The podium, based off of the two questions that we had, is D in the third position, Laura in the second position, and the first position goes to Adri. Runner-ups, JK and HR. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciated your time today. And if you have more questions, Andy has shared our email address and also our onboarding community where we all ask questions off of one another. So feel free to join that as well. Hopefully, we'll see you again for more conversations moving forward. Bye.